Turkey is another Middle East player in a standoff with the U.S. It's over the fate of arrested U.S. pastor Brunson, held on charges of espionage. Middle East expert Robert Spencer spoke with CBN's senior international correspondent Gary Lane about the situation in Turkey.
Let's talk about Erdogan. He says the U.S. risks losing a sincere partner if it imposes sanctions because he won't free Pastor Brunson, of course. He says Turkey will explore options. So how sincere is Erdogan, and what are these options he's talking about?
He hasn't been a sincere partner in years. He's been working to re-Islamize Turkey. It's very clear, as many of his opponents on all sides of the political spectrum have charged, that he wants to restore the Ottoman Caliphate. He has declared that the lands that once belonged to the Ottoman Caliphate, such as the whole Eastern Mediterranean area, North Africa, Greece, they all belong by right to Turkey. And it seems as if he ultimately wants to undertake military adventurism to get them back. The Turks are constantly harassing Greek planes and ships in the Aegean. And so this is supposed to be a NATO ally, a NATO partner. He has not been that for many years. He was buying ISIS oil when ISIS was in control of 60 Iraqi oil wells. And so for him to say now, in connection with Pastor Brunson, that we're risking losing a reliable ally is plain deception. Turkey has not been an ally for a long time.
Let's look a little bit more at that on concerning ISIS. Now, I know from my time in the Middle East, many people have said that he's been a staunch supporter of ISIS for a long time. So how extensive has his support been for ISIS? Is he still supporting the group?
Well, ISIS, of course, has lost most of its territory in Iraq and Syria. And so while, yes, he still supports the group, it's not as important as it used to be when ISIS controlled a territory larger than Great Britain. But yes, he did support them, and this is because ISIS was fighting against Assad and the Kurds. And it seemed to be that Erdogan was working for the long term. What he wanted to do was have ISIS take out Assad and the Kurds, and then he could incorporate ISIS into a renewed Turkish caliphate.
Seems like he really has a longing to control that northern part of Syria.
Oh, yes.
Is ISIS making a comeback? And what about Al-Qaeda?
It's certainly not gone altogether, but it's substantially weakened. I don't think that it's in a position to recover the territory that it once controlled. But certainly it's not gone. We shouldn't think that the job is completely done there by any means.
Are they a threat, or is Al-Qaeda still the greater threat?
Oh, I would say ISIS is still very much the greater threat, partly because they've lost so much territory in Iraq and Syria, and they have internationalized. They've been working not only in Afghanistan and Libya, but also the Philippines and elsewhere around the world. Of course, also, and I think probably of most concern to people in the United States, is the fact that they have called repeatedly upon Muslims in the U.S., in Canada, and in countries of Western Europe to mount lone wolf jihad attacks. And with the dispersal of many of their foreign fighters, remember that in their heyday, they had attracted 30,000 foreign fighters from 100 different countries. And a lot of those jihadis have returned to their homes in Western Europe and even in the United States. I don't think they ever should have been let in. They were enemy combatants who had joined a state that was in a state of war with the United States. But they were let back in, and so I think that it's virtually certain we have not heard the last from them.
Okay, Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch, author of the new book, The History of Jihad, From Muhammad to ISIS. Thank you, Robert, for joining us.